Siobhan? She asked, reading my name off the card. That's what it looks like, but it actually sounds like Siobhan. It's Irish. Like your last name, O'Brien, the waitress said. You're Irish? Why wouldn't I be? I asked. The waitress laughed. I'll be back with your receipt, lassie. 2. Nestled in the valley between the Catskill Mountains, the city of Athena is a picture of fall perfection from the second week in October until Election Day. Some people prefer the flowers of spring, full of promise and warmth. But I've always been attracted to the quiet fires of fall, the final burst of color before winter. On Buffalo Street, a bearded crooner busked by the water fountain. I threw $5 into his guitar case and clapped when he finished his song about getting stung by a bee. Bee, why? At the end of the block, I entered the white brick building and rode the elevator to the 3rd floor. I was already excited for my plan to come in later in the week and surprise my boss Ed with a fresh coat of paint on the door of our office. Ed was not a fan of surprises, but I figured this was not a bad one, since I didn't plan on changing the color or anything. It was a heavy wooden door with a large translucent square window. The name of the firm stenciled on the glass. Ed Baker Investigative Agency. The door was painted black with dark gold trim, a reassuring combination of professionalism and class. Friday was my 2nd anniversary. Ed probably didn't even remember, or care if he did. But I wanted to express my gratitude. Instead of hiring someone with more experience, any, truth be told, he'd taken a chance on me, a laid-off newspaper reporter who wrote restaurant and movie reviews and occasional human interest pieces, neither Woodward nor Bernstein. Our office wasn't much, a Keurig sitting on a wide filing cabinet in the back and 3 desks, one for Ed, one for me, and one for Stacy, our part-time bookkeeper. Ed had the biggest one, with 2 wooden armchairs in front of it for clients. Behind him was the only window, and he often stared out at the city below and the verdant landscape beyond when he thought through a case. I placed my purse on my desk. Good with Michelson, I said, removing my jacket. Got the photos. Ed's chair was, as usual, facing the window, and his head was tilted at an angle that suggested he'd nodded off. Ed? I walked over to his desk, slumped in his chair. He clenched his left arm with his right hand. I placed my fingers on his wrist, but I already knew I wouldn't feel a pulse. His skin was cold. The expression that remained frozen on his face was somewhere between a grimace and a smile, but only for the next 36 hours. Everyone knows about rigor mortis, but few realize that the body goes slack a day or so later. The way Ed had grabbed his arm suggested heart attack. He was on medication for high blood pressure and for type 2 diabetes, too. He was not the healthiest person I knew. A few crumbs of his half-eaten glazed donut were embedded in his mustache, so I brushed them off. Now that my assessment of the scene was complete, I stood next to him with my hand on his shoulder. I saw what he saw last, the bronzed beauty of the mountains in the distance, and I wept. 3. One of the more popular stories I'd written when I used to be a journalist with the Athena Times was a profile of the funeral home in town, and in the week I spent with the Lesters, I saw a dozen bodies rolled into the basement and sat through 3 services. I witnessed cremation, embalming, and of course, the preparation for an open casket viewing, which meant dressing the body and applying makeup. You'd be surprised at the amount of primping the men receive. In many cases, it's more than women because women tend to take better care of themselves and look fairly fabulous even dead. They'd done a nice job with Ed, even shaped his unruly eyebrows. In black suit and red tie, surrounded by folds of white silk, he looked at peace. I'd never seen Ed in any kind of formal wear, as his dress